Tallboys and Trackmasters is brought to you by Expert Exhaust. Expect more for your money. KDR Suspension. Unlock your full potential with KDR. High Gear Success. From helping riders get sponsored to motorsports event operation and promotion, shift your passion into high gear. Track 93. The place to get ready to race. And by IADV. From routes, guided tours, and more, we'll help you get lost.
Tremble. I got a little sweaty.
Private equity has never involved itself in anything that didn't result in tragedy.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Happy 2026 and welcome to episode 97 of Tallboys and Trackmasters. Our co-host Trevor had a little bit of an emergency that he had to deal with this evening, so he will not be joining us. He will be back on our next episode, but we're excited for you all to be here this evening, and we have a whole host of awesome things lined up for the show for 2026. So we make sure that you stick around, and if you could, give us a like and follow. It really does help. So if you've been following along with the Facebook page, you'll have noticed that we've been doing the Dakar so far updates, and rally in the United States has really starting to rise in popularity, at least here in our area in Appalachia. And we have a man joining us on the show this evening that is kind of spearheading that effort, Mr. Todd Zacker. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, buddy.
I have to start with it.
Yes, sir. Pop open the Cowboys. That's what we like to call them here.
Yep.
How's things been?
Very good. Very good. How's everything going tonight? Sorry, James can't, Trevor can't join us.
Yeah,
he'll hear that about for him.
He'll be back. But yeah, man, we're excited to have you tonight, and excited to get into your world and the world of roadbook rally, obviously. So let's start the show off like we always do. Get a little bit of background information from you. So where were you born and raised?
So I was born and raised in a little town called Bloomingdale, Michigan, and I mean, they had a blinking light at one point, and they took it out. So that's kind of where it all started. But there's a really cool dirt track there, a motocross track. It's actually a Loretta Lynn's track now. It used to be called Dutchman Sport Park, and I think it still is. But anyway, yeah, that was just right up the street from me. And when I say right up the street, I mean at the end of our street. We were so anyway, yeah, we at about six years old, I guess it was, my neighbor got a Honda 50, and with the silver tank and everything.
Yes, sir.
And they explained to me, okay, this is how you shift and get going. So I took off on that thing, and they taught me how to shift up, but they didn't teach me how to shift down.
Yeah.
And so after I hit a mailbox, went in the ditch, hit a mailbox, got a little roughed up. I was hooked.
Yeah.
That was the start of it. And so started doing that. We I mowed lawns, paid for stuff. I joke, and I used to always say we were dirt floor poor, but my sister-in-law corrected me one day, and she goes, "No, you guys weren't dirt floor poor. You were outhouse poor." Y'all had an outhouse. So that was kind of funny. But anyway, so me, basically saying, this is back when, now you go out and start racing or whatever. It's what you can afford to do.
Yeah.
you know, and it's an expensive, it's almost a rich man's sport, you know, to some extent. So it's really difficult for the grassroots guys to get going. But that's how it started out for me. You know, my first race was paid for by some friends of mine's parents because I didn't have the money to do it. And I was in my tennis shoes, jeans, and a t-shirt and a helmet is what I had.
You had the helmet at least. That's the important
Yeah,
part. Right?
that's right. And that's back when Budweiser sponsored events and stuff like that, even kids events.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, at the race, I got second overall, and that was my very first race. I was on a little YZ 80,
Yeah.
and that was the beginning of it for me.
Nice.
And it was a big enough event that a local dealership hooked onto me and got me going from there. You know, it was one of those things where, you know, I rode with all these kids all the time, but I never raced with them because I just couldn't afford to. And one of the parents said, "Oh no, you're going to this race," and I ended up going to it and showing well. And it was history after that. You know, I spent the next, you know, years of my life riding anything I could. It didn't matter if I was racing motocross, got to race some supercross. That was fun. And then road bikes, and transitioned into road bikes, did a lot of road bike racing. And while I was road bike racing, what was really cool was I started racing jet skis. Oh yeah. You know, there's a difference between being at the track at, you know, a road race or a dirt track or a motocross track compared to jet skis. I like the apparel of the people watching the jet ski races much more than the apparel of the people we're watching motocross events and and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
yeah. So that was a lot of fun, and so, you know, kind of transferred, did all that, and matter of fact, a buddy of mine, it was really cool, took a picture of me in 2018 on a jet ski. It was just like the jet ski that I raced, and he took a picture of me driving by with a beer in my hand. And the reason we did that was because in 1992 there was a picture of me riding along, coming at Lake Michigan right after a race.
Yeah.
And I threw my helmet off and I was riding along, and a guy threw me a beer. So I caught the beer, popped it, and I was drinking the beer as I was riding along. And so we just matched those two pictures up. It was kind of fun.
This comes full circle, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
So, but anyway, yeah. So I got the chance to race some super teams endurance, some super bike stuff like that. And then in 1994, just walked away from everything. Didn't race for 18 years. And in matter of fact, didn't even really ride much. The riding I did was my son, you know, my son, my daughters, they did a little bit of riding, you know, little KTM 50s and TTR 110s, and my son had a RM 85 and, you know, stuff like that. And heck, my youngest, she was so cool. She would go out there on her KTM 50 on the motocross track, and my buddy would be out there, or my son would be out there with all his buddies on 85s and 65s and stuff, and they'd just be ripping it up. And she would go out there and she would slam into them in the air. She would block them in the air. She's insane. She's just insane. So we say that the reason her and I don't get along so well is because we're the most alike.
That's normally the case. And it's funny you say that, because that reminds me of, you know, when I was growing up, it was me, my sister, my mom, my dad, all four of us racing hare scrambles, GNCC, what have you, for years and years. And I just remember like being in high school, and my sister is 3 years younger than me. So, you know, a lot of guys in my high school class also raced the local hare scramble series. And, you know, obviously you get done racing Sunday, you're back to class Monday, and everybody's talking about this and that. And it always seemed like there'd be 2 or 3 guys like kind of bragging it up like, oh yeah, man, I dominated. It wasn't that bad. I'm like, yeah, my sister lapped you 4 times. Like you did not look very good out there at all, which isn't taking anything away from her because my sister's a heck of a rider. But,
right.
It's funny. Funny you say that.
Oh yeah. That's, we'll get into that a little bit later about people and what they say, and things that they do. So I kept that very first trophy. And the only other trophy I've kept is this one right here, which is the Superman Award, Kurt Caselli Superman Award.
Yes.
I won it, the KTM Ultimate Race.
Yeah.
And other than that, I don't keep any of my other trophies.
Yeah.
You raced all that GNCC and everything.
This is like one tote, and I don't know what to do with the rest of them.
Yeah, no, you could fill rooms and rooms and rooms,
right.
And so that's why I just never kept anything. I was just like, I don't really. It doesn't. I don't mean it didn't mean a lot to me. It didn't define me as much as just riding. I just loved riding. I used to. Way to put it. One thing I used to love to do, and I think it used to drive my buddies crazy, is, and I couldn't do it now. I would sit for hours and just do the exact same thing over and over again. Hell, I had one of my buddies who's actually he's sponsored for Strike King fishing lures. Yeah. He's like one of the best smallmouth bass fishermen out there right now. And he and I, Neil Vanderbeesen, we used to sit there at this church soccer field, and we would sit there for hours wheeling at zero. I mean, basically just balancing on our back tire, just all the way down and all the way back. And everybody else would be like, "You guys are so boring." And we're like, "No, this is a lot of fun." We'd do that, or we'd sit there and we made a circle track where you jumped a jump in the center. A figure eight. So you had to do a figure eight, but the jump was in the middle. Yeah. So in both directions, you're jumping at each other. No. And so it's all about timing and stuff like that. And he and I used to sit there. It was no bigger than, I'd say, you couldn't get out of second gear.
Yeah.
But to do that over and over again, or go out into the woods and there's, or go to gravel pits. That's where we used to go all the time to play and practice. And you go into this gravel pit and, you just hit the same hill 100 times until you made it.
Yeah.
And, that was cool to us or fun to us. And now if I hit it a couple times, I can't breathe anymore. So it's not, I'm not going to sit there and hit it 100 times. If I don't make it the first 1 or 2 times, I'm too old to keep hitting it.
There's too many consequences if you don't make it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But that's the key though, to getting better at pretty much anything, is just repetition and that drive and that focus to sit there and do something that may seem boring to somebody else for a long time.
Yeah. And so that was my younger life. Now I'm older and I don't have that patience and I don't do that stuff. I said I stopped for like 18 years, and in 2012 I didn't have a road bike. I didn't have anything. And I went out and I got the opportunity to ride 32 different bikes to find out what bike I wanted to ride. Yeah. I'm getting ready to buy a bike. I'm going to buy a bike. I'm midlife crisis. I'm buying a bike. And so anyway, I ride 32 bikes. The 7th bike I rode was a 1200 GS. And funny thing was that's what I went and got I didn't realize I didn't even have a motorcycle license anymore. I thought it just kept renewing right. Every time you did it. Well, no, I guess it doesn't. So I went and I rode my daughter, my oldest daughter at the time. I took her out to lunch, and then I went and did my road test. And I pulled in, and the lady goes, you're not supposed to be riding with somebody on the back. You're supposed to be riding with people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that makes no sense. Why would you be riding with people if you don't even have a license? So anyway, she's like, can you hurry up and just, do the test? So I whipped through the test real quick. And she's like, just go straight there, get your license, and then you guys can continue your ride today. So
yeah,
that was kind of funny. But anyway, so I rode all these bikes trying to make bikes work and everything. And the 7th bike was a GS. And all said and done, I ended up buying a 2012 GS, and that's what got me all back into it. And after the first time I rode it, I had under 400 miles on it. And I was up by Mountain Lake in Virginia, and where they shot Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there riding along, and I come through this corner, and I go to hit the brakes, to settle the bike down because it's just going for the ditch. And I hit that ditch, and I'm just like, just banging off the sides. And all of a sudden, the bike stops dead. I flip over the handlebars, and I land in the middle of the road.
Oh.
Well, I'm afraid to turn around and look at my $18,000 bike,
Yeah.
that I just wadded up, right? And I turn around, and the bike's sitting just straight up right in the ditch. And I'm like, what the hell? And I came back, and I'm looking at it. The crash bar had hit a rock. It stopped my bike dead. And I flew out into the middle of the road. Didn't do anything, bent the crash bar a little bit. So anyway, I get the bike out of the ditch, and I ride home. And all the way home, I'm like, man, what is this bike? Doesn't handle like everybody said it does. It's not an off-road bike, and da-da-da-da-da. And about halfway home, I realized, you know what? I never turned the ABS off. So when I was trying to grab brake to get it to settle down a little bit, it wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And so I just, I went right in the ditch. So figured that out. About a week later, I took it out. I was down in Williamsburg and took it out to a place called the Mud Road out in West Point. And I didn't get 20 feet into the road, and I was staring at the back wheel. I'd spun that thing around, fell off, flipped off, whatever else. And I was pissed. So I took that bike home. Actually, I walked away from it for a few minutes, and then I walked back and grabbed it. Took it home and decided I need to learn how to ride this bike. All this time, all this racing I did, what I realized is I didn't know how to ride a bike. And when I say that, I didn't know how to use a clutch. All that racing, you just don't use a lot of clutch when you're racing motocross or racing road bikes and stuff like that. It's not used near as much as you think it would be. And so I taught myself in my front yard in Williamsburg how to ride my 1200 GS. And I did everything I could as slow as I possibly could. And it was just all about clutch control, throttle control, and everything else. And I did that for about a month and a half. Went out for a ride with the guys at Frontline Motorsports down there in Salem. They're, Chip down there. He did a thing where he'd do adventure weekends every month and do adventure rides. So I went down and rode with the guys the first time, and then they didn't do it the next month, and they didn't do it the next month because you get busy running a dealership.
Yeah.
And so finally I called them up and said, hey, you guys mind if I head this up and start doing this? And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. So next couple first weekends of the month, I went ahead and ran laid out the routes, pre-ran them, took the guys out, rode them. And about the second week, the general manager calls me up and he says, hey, I got a bunch of guys that want to know how to ride that bike the way you ride the bike. And so I was like, oh, well, that's easy. I can teach that. He goes, all right, I'm going to set up a class. You're going to teach a class. So that's how Zacker Adventures started.
Ah.
And so I did my first class down there, and then just started doing them from there. I did some with Horizons Unlimited, did them, with ADB Moto magazine, and so on, and then started doing it with dealerships. And it doesn't matter what bike it is. I don't care if it's a 350 that you're ADBing on or dual sporting on, or if it's a 1200 GS. We're kind of teaching the same thing. It's all about clutch control and throttle control, basically getting the power to the ground.
Right.
And
that point you brought up is 100% correct, because I found myself still at this point, like just doing some dual sport stuff where it's like, you dummy, you should have pulled the clutch in right there. Like, why did you, that you get that racing mentality kind of ingrained in you, and it's hard to beat out. So, and I've actually heard other people that are trainers themselves say that they would rather have a fresh out the gate, very minimal experienced rider to train versus some guy that's rode for 30 years and thinks he knows what he's doing. Do you find that any in the trainings you do?
You know, I don't. Some I don't mind. You know, I would say, yeah, you're right. You're right. I was going to say something else, but after I process it myself before I spit it out, which is very rare. That's what they call it, the unfiltered experience. When
That's right.
No, you're right. It is, because it's easier to, teach somebody from the start than it is to try and get them to relearn something. You're 100% correct. The thing that I always laugh at, we were talking before a little bit about people, and they talk about what they did. And this was what I was going to say is, the person that is the hardest to train is the person that says, oh, I had a dirt bike when, or I used to ride dirt bikes when I was a kid. And what they really did was they rode their cousin's dirt bike once across the farmer's field, and
Yeah.
they rode dirt bikes. And so now they're an expert on it. And
Right.
that's the person that's hard to train.
Yeah. No, I get that.
So, I the biggest thing that, in my process, when I was teaching myself to train, that's the biggest thing, because you do so many things instinctively. And this is something I actually went through with one of the guys I trained. He's a great instructor of mine. Ben Fopp, who's went to the GS Trophy, was one of the qualifiers for the US a couple years back. He was sitting there one day, and he goes, I had him training for me, and I said, all right, I'm going to have you pick out anything you want to do. What do you want to teach the guys? We're going to do these different stations. And he goes, I want to do power slide. I said, I laughed so hard. I'm like, oh, this is great. I said, you go ahead and figure that one out. I said, this would be great. And I told him this is about a month before. So he's like, okay, I got it all figured out. And about 2 weeks before, I called him up and I said, all right, so how are you going to teach power sliding? And he goes, well, I'm just going to teach them how to come into the corner, hit their brake, get on the throttle, and, just, weighting the inside peg to get it to slide, all this stuff. And I said, how much brake do you use when you go into the corner? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, how much pressure on the brake do you use? And when do you start pouring on the throttle? And how much throttle do you give it? How much clutch do you give it? Are you using a little bit of front brake to slow it down? Are you, to help get it to drag out? Or are you, how much, what is the percentage of clutch are you using? And he's like, what are you talking about? It's all feel. I said, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the questions you're going to get. Because, when you're doing this type of, adventure training or any kind of training with the middle-aged group, they analyze everything. Everything's got to be explained to them to the T. In I call it parallelization by analyzation.
Yeah, we've used that term on the show here before, so you know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and the reason I said that to Ben, and he, he took the time to try and figure all that out and everything, and all said and done, at the end of it, he said, I won't ever teach that again. Yeah. And I started laughing, but I had a guy who used to he actually taught me to train. He was a physicist, and so he's super analytical. I mean, to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And he goes, one time he said to me, he said, can I get on the back of your bike? Because I want to see what your hands are doing when you're going into these corners and exiting these corners. Mind you, he was 380 pounds. I'm not a small dude, but god damn.
Hang on, buddy. We're going to crank this preload all the way up.
Yep. So anyway, so that was that was my experience. And I joke with him about that, but the thing is he taught me a ton, because I've always said it's a feel. It's a feel. You got to feel this, or you got to feel this, and that all comes with muscle memory. And as we were talking about earlier, the repetition. And I always said, oh no, I can always teach. I can teach feel. I can teach this. And one day I was sitting there and a guy said to me, he said, so I can't wear boots. I can't feel the pegs. I can't feel the shifter, this and that. I can't wear boots. And I said, that's bullshit. You can feel the brake. You can feel the shifter. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And about a week later, maybe it was 2 weeks later, I was coming down a trail called Big Levels over here in Virginia, outside of Greenville, Virginia. I was coming down it, and I'm just doing my thing, and I realize it's all by I don't feel a damn thing.
Yeah.
It's all by feel. And when I say feel, not tactile feel, feeling how the engines react, and feeling how your brakes are reacting, and how much pressure it's causing you to put on the bars, or how much grip you're going to have to grab because you're accelerating so much, or whatever it is. And that's the feel that I was trying to figure out how to teach. And so I sat there for a minute. I'm like, God, how the hell do you teach feel? And so what I started doing, whenever somebody says they can't wear boots, I say, for the next week or next 2 weeks, I want you to put your boots on when you drive to work, and put your boots on when you drive home. Because that's a muscle memory. Everybody knows. Everybody's got that muscle memory down pretty good. Yes, you're going to bounce your face off the steering wheel a couple times, but you're going to get the feel because you know it. It's so ingrained in you. That's one way you can teach feel. And that's the only way I could figure it out. And if anybody else has got a better idea, please feed it to me.
Yeah. My hat goes off to anybody that has the patience to take the time to teach when it comes to riding, because I don't have that patience. And people ask me questions and I can explain it the best of my ability, but like, I don't know if I've got the patience to sit down with somebody one-on-one and try to show them that. But like you said, it's so instinctual. And like at this point in both of our riding careers, we don't think about downshifting to come into this downhill section, or, the right amount of clutch slip to get up this hill climb. We just do it. It's almost like the old Joe Dirt movie. It just does. Yes. Like the pause of traction in the Plymouth, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. Anybody that has that knack to teach, newer guys, or even experienced guys that think they know everything, my hat definitely goes off to you all.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah. It's fun and it's rewarding.
I think that's the key, right? It's super rewarding to see that progression of somebody that comes in like a baby deer and can't get their feet underneath of them, to someone that you could probably take out and go ride with you if you wanted to.
Right. No, it is. But it is very frustrating, and I'm not a very patient person. At least that's what my kids and everybody else says. They can't believe I do this. My son's probably one of the best instructors there is, just because he's so patient and he's been used to dealing with me, and he knows what it's like to be yelled at nonstop. So, but anyway, so we did. So I'm gonna go back to the kind of the Zacker Adventures and what we've been doing, and so I did all that, and in 2016, actually, Dan DeMeo, he was with ADV Moto Magazine. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. He works at MOD Motorcycles of Dulles now, but he was there, and he said, "Hey, Todd, would you like to run a 24-hour hair scramble?" And I remember you guys talking with Drew, I think Drew Faulkner, about the Northeast 24. Yeah. So in 2016, he's like, "Hey, would you want to do this?" Well, I hadn't rode a dirt bike in, God, I don't know how long. And so I'm like, of course. and so I show up, and I actually was given a Husqvarna, and it was before it was owned by KTM.
Oh, so the BMW Husky era there. Yeah, the redhead Huskies, they call them.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I was given one to race in that race, and the thing never ran. I literally rode it for like 1 mile in the woods once, and I just never could get it to run again. Yeah. And no matter what I tried. So I told those guys, I'm like, "Hey guys, I don't even have a bike to ride." So Dan's like, "Hey, I got an extra CR 250. Do you want to run it?" I'm like, "Oh, I love the CR 250. Of course I do." Right. So I get there, and there was everybody's going, and it comes to be my time, and one of the guys just looks at me and goes, "Hey, don't worry about it. Just take your time. You're not trying to win the race on this lap.
Yeah.
Just run, just make it through a couple laps and then come in and tell us how it is." So I go out there. I didn't take it easy. I couldn't even see that. It was so dusty. I didn't even see the first turn. I went right off the track into the trees. Second turn, exact same thing. Just right into the trees. I broke my hand.
Oh, no.
I hit a tree, broke my hand. And so I do my lap. I do another lap. I come in, I tell the guys, "Hey, I broke my hand. I mean, the thumb's bent like back and shit." So I take it, I set my thumb, I tape it with electrical tape. I drink 4 IPAs and I go back out. I'm like, "Hey, I got to go back out before the adrenaline wears off."
Yeah.
So I go out and I run another couple laps. Then I think my next turn was at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I ran, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I got 3 laps in. I'm feeling awesome. I hit mile marker 12.5. And I'm like, I'm going another lap. I'm doing 4 laps tonight. I feel amazing. And I come around this corner and there's this uphill, and this uphill was so silty because it was so dry, just so awful. And I'm thinking to myself, all day long, I'd been going to the right or the left on this uphill because up the center, it was so deep. You could see a root in the middle of it. And I'm like, I don't even know how you get over that. Well, so there was a guy wiped out on the right. There's a guy wiped out on the left. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, actually, or about 2:30. And I go up the center of that thing, and I hit that. I didn't know where the root was. I hit that root, and it had dug down so deep that my tire went under the root. I went over the bars on the uphill and into the silt, pulled the bike. I got up, pulled the bike off, took off, and I didn't get, I bet you 100 yards. And I was like, the adrenaline's wearing off.
Yeah.
So
here it comes.
Yeah. So I pulled in, and there's a picture of me at, I think it's like 10 to 3 in the morning. And I have, all you can see is this part of me. The rest of me looks like I had a beard, and I didn't have a beard.
The silt beard. Yeah.
And so that's when I got back into the little bikes and doing other things and racing again. And after that, I, did some things, did some dirt bike racing and stuff like that. But I still wanted to do more on the big bikes. And so I went and I ran the Sandblast Rally. I don't know if you've heard about that one. That one's a lot of fun.
Okay.
That's a lot of fun. That's down in South Carolina. They shut down the roads.
Wow. Yeah.
In their deep, first couple runs, you're fine because you're running before the cars. Well, then at about stage 4 or 5, they start running you reverse on some of the routes. So the cars have already been through. So there's deep ruts, deep sand. And my first year I ran the 1200 GS. That was probably not a good idea. But I had a good time. I did, decent in it. And then the next year, I had totaled my GS, and I was like, you know what, I needed to step up my game a little bit. And I talked to KTM, and I got just a wicked deal on a 1090. Yeah. And that was when the racing really came in. I went to Sandblast that year, and I am blown by people. That KTM, I remember going down a straightaway at over 128 miles an hour and seeing that on my speedometer going, that's pretty freaking cool. Yeah. And then, other times I'm coming out after like one of those rough stages, and I come out of a turn and I'm hammered down, and then I get stuck in a rut and I get the wobble. And I remember looking at my speedometer, it was 114 miles an hour. And I got this like death wobble. And I thought, oh, this is going to hurt when I hit the ground, is what I was thinking. But I powered through, got to the end of the stage. And that's when I realized that, it scared me that I wasn't scared.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a real fear too.
So that was like, all right, this thing's a little fast, but I'm still going to race it. So, didn't do too bad that year with that. And then that year was a really cool year because I talked a buddy of mine, Tim Williams, and another guy, Christopher Jones out of Birmingham, and Harrison Hendrick, to race the Perry Mountain 24.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've done that one before.
On our big bikes.
That's impressive. That's super impressive on a big bike.
So we actually had another guy in the mix. He didn't even show up to the race. So now we're down to 4. Harrison's 950 kept breaking down. He had the best bike.
Yeah.
His bike broke down just about every time he went out. So by 10 o'clock at night, he wasn't even in the race.
Yeah.
Chris Jones heat stroked first lap because it was 96 degrees.
Oh yeah, it's humidity's rough down there. It's no joke.
Yep. So basically, Tim on his Africa Twin and me on my 1090 ran almost the whole race.
Yeah.
We would run 3 laps. And luckily that year, it didn't get so tore up that it was unpassable.
Yeah.
On a big bike. We were able to make it all the way through to the end. I think we were 5th, in our class, which I'll take 5th.
Yeah.
in a class on a big bike and a hair scramble for 24 hours. But
and that's you guys racing these big bikes against little bikes, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, 5th is incredible. And
I think that was the 30 plus class because
so there you go. 30 years old guys on 200-pound machines out there for 24 hours, which that's tough in itself. But being on a 1090 and an Africa Twin, like I've got an Africa Twin, I've done the 24-hour rallies on it. Yeah, I know what it's like to get beat to death on a big bike like that.
Yeah. So that was that. That year was just a good year for the 1090. I did that. I did the ultimate race with KTM, and had a great time. Matter of fact, I was the only modern KTM to qualify or to make it into the top 10.
Yeah,
I was in the top 4, and then when Quinn Cody uploaded my GPX files, he only uploaded the waypoints. So I'm like, oh wow, they really kicked. The first day it was like a GPX file you followed.
Yeah.
Day 2, I'm like, damn, they really picked up the game. I don't know how to get. So I'm like trying to figure it out. And I show up and Quinn's standing at the bottom of this huge hill climb. And I mean, these hill climbs were miles long.
Yeah.
Out there. And he goes, where you been? And I jokingly said, oh, my wife needed some bread and some milk, so I had to run to the store before I came here. And he just looked at me kind of weird. And then I went up the hill and I come back down. And he's like, dude, you need to pick up your pace. And I said, I'm struggling to navigate. He says, follow the line. I said, what line? Yeah. And he starts going through my thing. He's like, holy cow, there's no route. And I said, no. He says, oh, you're going to struggle. So I made it all the way up to like 6th place. Because I was dead last at that point. Yeah. But what I did is I just started finding guys and I would follow them all the way. Right. But during the time I had, I changed 5 front tires, 1 rear tire, and not on my bike, on other bikes, because I was out of it by then.
Yeah.
And one guy actually took down the mountain to support, and then when he got down to the bottom of the mountain, I went back up the mountain and finished the route. And, so I get all done, and that's when, I was like, I knew I wasn't going to do anything. And, but they were very, very gracious of, all the stuff that I did. And that's how I got, when I said I had 1 trophy I keep, and that's that Kurt Caselli award. And that's what that was for, was, cause the way Kurt Caselli worked, when he raced, he never left anybody behind and made sure everybody made it. And so that's why I keep that one.
That's definitely something worthy of, talking about, remembering, and having showcased for sure. Yeah. Kurt was definitely a huge inspiration for me and so many others out there when it comes to off-road. And that sportsmanship mentality of not leaving anybody behind is something that, I do like to see in a lot of events that I do. And it seems like that's kind of taken off. And, me and Trevor have talked about it on other shows. Like you see, like the hard enduro guys, like they're buddies off the track. They're getting along. They're helping each other. Like I think every discipline of motorcycle racing needs to see more of that.
Oh yeah. I think you see that a lot in rally.
Yeah.
That's why I like rally.
Yeah.
And I got a really funny story about that, or cool story about that. So that year, I'll go right into that. That year I raced the Baja Rally, which is the 5 days. Now it's 6 days, but it's, over that time, it's that navigational roadbook rally. And stage 2, I think it was, I came up on a rider, Scotty Bright, who's a professional KTM rider. His son's on the 6 days the last couple of years, just a phenomenal rider. And I come around this corner, and he's sitting there, and he's got his whole tower, and he's just like hanging onto it in his hands. And I'm like, dude, are you okay? And he said, yeah, I just kind of ate shit. And he goes, my nav's actually working. And I said, all right, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just hang with you. And so he has this tower on his lap. You know how hard it was to hang with him?
With it on his lap, yeah.
He's like with one hand navigating, looking at this tower. I got my whole setup just clean as can be, and he's motoring me. It was embarrassing, but so that was super cool. To see, to do that, because that's what they do in the rally scene. And when the reason I say that is because the next day I ate shit on the beach in San Felipe. And because he finished so poorly, he had caught up with me. And I mean, I cartwheeled. I was,
yeah.
And I got up, and he gets up to me, and he sat there with me for a while until medics got there. And he's like, I'm not, I'll ride with you. I'll ride with you the rest of the day. Let's just do this. But that's the mentality of these guys is, let's just get you through this race, or get you to the end of the stage, or whatever it is. And so that, that really, really hit real close to home to me. I really like that. And so, we go through the week, and that was the year Skylar House won Baja for the first time.
Mr. Mustache.
Yep, Mr. Mustache, exactly. And so what was really cool is the very last stage, we're all sitting up there, all the pros, everybody else is sitting up there, getting ready to take off. And like one or two guys go, and you hear them, and it's just, just wah, 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 wah. And they're just playing oh for this long time. And then you hear them come up on this little hump, and you hear them go, wah, wah. They let off. Skylar goes, and we're all sitting up there, and all we hear is wah, bah, 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 wah. And everybody looks around, they're like, holy shit, he kept it pinned over the freaking lift, where everybody else is lifting. And even the pros are going, that guy's freaking insane. So that was the exposure to that. And I just remember rolling in at the end of the day. It was one of my better days. I think I finished like 17th overall on that day against all the other guys. And, I walked in, and Skylar was sitting at the bar, and cause you park right inside the hotel at the pool. You drive through the kitchen to get there. And so anyway, so
give me a beer on the way by. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. And I get over there, and Scotty Bright, he just lays out 3 shots, one for me, one for Skylar, one for him. And that was the beginning of the night. And it was just, super cool. But so that's that got me hooked. I was doing the rally stuff. And so I wanted to bring that back to the East Coast. And, we started doing some, what was it? I guess 2022 or 2022, I think. I can't remember. Did my first one. I think I had like 6 guys come to it.
Yeah.
And but after that, it just kept picking up pace. And this last one I did, we had over 50 guys competing, which is cool. I mean, we have more guys, more people there, but it's just the 50 guys that are competing. And it's kicked it up a little. And so this year, stepping it up, and, we'll have the Zacker one in Virginia, Greenville, Virginia again this year. That's kind of our home base, Penn Merrill.
I was going to mention, Penn Merrill Farms, right? That's your,
yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're just Blair and Laura, the two that run that facility, are, and I don't, you can ask anybody. They're the nicest people you will ever meet. And when I say that, they're genuinely nice people, and it's all about your experience. It's not, they're like the Chick-fil-A of
My pleasure. My
oh
pleasure.
yeah,
My pleasure.
exactly. That's, it's what can I get you? That's literally Blair's first words. Hey, can I help you with anything? What can I get you? And it's just stuff like that that makes it such a great place. But I've been doing events there since 2020.
Nice.
And they're great. So I try to pour as much their way as I can. Like, we do the free garage weekend, in Super Bowl party. That's more just for the garage weekend. And we always end up riding because it's nice. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
But that's just to get people in their door in their slow season. And then, I did Bob's BMW events there, did some regular events for myself. I've done some GS Trophy training there for guys that wanted to go and compete in the BMW GS Trophy. But now, my real focus is, and this year's going to be the first year I'm doing much training other than the sand class. I do that sand class every year down in Outback in North Carolina. But back doing a little bit of training this year, but the last couple of years I haven't been doing much because I just really have been enjoying the roadbook side of it.
Yeah.
And doing the event side of it, and try and teach more people. I'm open. People ask me, like, heck, last night I sat there, I probably answered 20 people, messaging me all at the same time. I'm always like, hey, you just got home. Do you think you can talk to me? I'm like, I really need to answer these people. I'm a person right in front of you.
Yeah.
But, I'm just trying to get them excited, get them informed, understanding what they need, because with these events, you can make them very expensive.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is make it as inexpensive as possible for entry and to be able to compete. We try to include food. We try to include it so that everything you're going to do, you're incorporated into your fee already, whether it's the camping, the lodging at the farm. But with the Bluegrass Rally, it's going to be more just camping because they just don't have facilities yet there. But with that said, it's going to be food and camping. But I like to include that so that, when you're coming down, you could grab a phone and you could run it all on a phone. And I actually check all my routes I use a phone and I use a tablet that I actually have two different ones here. Let me get through my crap. But I have two different ones. I got one here. I paid $20 for this on Marketplace.
Yeah.
And it just stopped. It just went out of date, so it won't take the app anymore.
Right.
So this one's done. But I have another one actually that I paid $35 for. And that's the other one I check with. And the reason I do that, it's just a Samsung Tab Active.
Yeah.
2, I think it is.
Yeah.
But that was another one I used. And the reason I use these and use my phone to check my routes with is so that it doesn't matter if you have a $1,000 or $2,000 Y1000, or if you have a $1,000 DMD or whatever it is, or if you just have $35 to buy a tablet, they work.
Yeah, they do
work.
I have a $100 Ocatel RT3 rugged tablet from Amazon, and I've used it for all the 24-hour rallies. It's worked flawlessly, no problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just low fee to enter is entry into the system and start doing it.
Yeah.
And then when you get hooked, then you can start dumping your money into it.
Right.
But that was kind of the goal. And yes, it's started to progress. We do an adventure class. We do a dual sport class. I'm going to change that to rally class, just to make it make more sense. But so you're not competing against guys, going up hard enduro courses on a big bike.
Yeah.
You're doing, the big bike guys are doing basically gravel roads, forest service roads, a little bit of, Jeep trails that are not difficult.
Yeah.
For those guys. And then the guys that are doing the rally, they're getting the harder courses,
Yeah.
the Jeep trails, some of the single track or ATV parks and stuff like that. And I'll pay for the pass for them for the day, and they have to attach it to their bike. So
Yeah.
when they do navigate through it, they're navigating through some more difficult stuff, just so it's not as boring.
Yeah.
For those guys. So,
Awesome.
but that's really, with the Virginia one, that's what we're doing is those two, or that event, with just motos, ADV and rally, and then the bluegrass rally raid, which is really exciting. We're going to have side-by-sides, trucks, ADV and rally category for all the bikes. So you got the two different bike classes, side by side and truck, and that's going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah.
It's going to be super cool. What's neat is for everybody, who hasn't used it yet, there's a app, and it's Terra Prada. That's what we use. And on the backside, I have to pay an enterprise fee and stuff like that, so that I can do my events and everything. But what I do is I upload all my competitors with their email, and 48 hours, 2 days before the event, your roadbook will open for you to download. But you can't read it. You can only download it. It won't let you look at it.
It's sitting there, but you're like
Yep.
the carrot at the end of the stick, right? It's right there, but you can't see it.
Yep. And then 20 minutes before the event, it will open.
That's really cool, actually. I dig that.
So no one can pre-run it in their head or look at it and kind of lay it out. And then what's neat about it is, I was telling you earlier, we used to sit there and write down when the guys left, write down when they come back, write down at their lunch breaks, all that stuff. Well, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do checkpoints. We don't have to do anything, because even though these tablets don't have cellular service or anything, all they need is to be able to connect to Wi-Fi. That's how they download everything.
Yeah.
And then all of them have a GPS chip in it.
Yep.
So it follows them. So that's how it scores everything for me. It actually tells me their speeds, everything else. And obviously, the newer the tablet or phone, the more accurate it's going to be.
Yeah.
So that's nice for when you're getting in those trees, and it can lose you a little bit, especially if you're in a speed zone. You're running the Blue Ridge Parkway and your speed zone's 45, and you get stuck behind a mountain. It says that you're doing like 35. When you come up the other side, it'll say you're doing 60. Yeah. And now you're getting a penalty.
Yeah.
And you're like, son of a bitch. Well, everybody's getting that same penalty if it's happening.
Yeah.
But if you have a more, a newer app, or a newer device, it's picking up 5 different satellite systems instead of just 2.
Right.
And so that eliminates some of that. So hopefully that'll eliminate some of that this year. But it's really cool. On the backside, I upload, excuse me, I have to run all the routes, do all the markings on them. That stuff just doesn't self-populate. So you have to do all those. And then after you do them all, how many times you got to check them? I actually check my routes about 6 times each route. So I'm running them a lot.
Yeah. And like all it takes is one turn going the wrong way that you didn't think about. And man, it's just everyone's screwed. Right?
Yeah. And or just having the wrong description, or it's off or whatever. But but it's neat. I mean, it's super accurate. It does what it needs to do. It does the scoring for us. It does the penalties. Matter of fact, we put in the speeding penalties. We put in the stops. Like we can have it where we can mandatory you stop. It won't tell you that you have to stop, but there's a sign on the app that will say, it's a stop sign, and it's a round stop sign. The round stop signs actually mandatory 5-second stop.
Yeah.
So you pull up, and it doesn't tell you anything, but it will, as soon as you come to a stop and you're at that location, it'll start counting down. It'll black your screen out, and it'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow,
and then you can go again.
That's really cool.
If you take off before, the screen comes back, and you think you're fine. Well, no, you just got a 2-minute penalty.
Oh man, yeah.
so
That's
you want
incredible.
to make sure you stop.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
you know, we kind of talked a little bit off camera too that, you know, Jed with the 24 hours of Appalachia is going to go to Terra Parada next year. So I'm excited to see all that stuff kind of be working as I'm doing the rallies there too. So
yeah, well, in you know, you did that last rally that you brought it up to me. I didn't realize that you and I had talked a couple times.
yeah.
During that event, because I went there and I ran that first lap using the road book and scored myself using that.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, yeah, that's we first met when I had to pee really bad. I about wet my pants. I think
Yeah.
I went a little in my pants before you're
Yeah,
on
I
the
think I
wrong
was coming
side of the
across the
creek,
creek
and I went
and there
over.
was somebody relieving themselves there a little bit.
Right. And then when I got across the creek, I realized we were on the wrong side of the creek.
Yeah.
Go back.
Yep.
But so yeah, no, that's what they're doing at Backroads of Appalachia is super cool. I love everything they're doing. You know, bringing that motorsports to that depressed area. You know, the things that they're bringing in to be able to be a part of it's super exciting for us. You know, I've been talking with Eric about this. I think it was 22. I did I ran some guys on the what's it called? The Continental Divide. I took a group on the Continental Divide. We do BDRs, stuff like that, supported. And after that event, I didn't think I wanted to do anything. I lost. Only 2 guys made it the whole way.
Oh man.
We started with 10. And when I say 2 guys, I think 3 guys didn't go to the hospital. Or 4 guys did not go to the hospital. I think
that sounds like one of the FDSR rides around here that we do.
Oh gosh, it was horrendous. Hell, we're going to Baja in 2 weeks, and we're doing a week in Baja. I have a group of guys that we're taking down there, and we ain't even left, and 2 of them have dropped out from injuries. One's tore his ACL and meniscus riding with us. You know, he was goofing off, and another guy just was tired riding some single track and hit a tree and broke 3 ribs last week.
Gosh.
Or 2 weekends ago. And then this weekend we were riding, and I said, all right, we're going to wrap everybody in bubble wrap if anybody's riding with us. And I'm like, all right, we're just going to do something slow. So we did some outlaw trails, and, you know, they're on 300s. I'm on a 500. And I saw this log down, and I looked down at it. And I said, ooh, and you lift your foot when you see that log, you know?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I hear in the comms, I hear my son go, ooh. And then the next one I hear, oh, and he's screaming. I'm like, oh God, what'd you do? And he's like, I think I broke my toe. He sent me a picture of it. It just is mangled. Yeah. I was like, he says, it's a little toe. It doesn't mean anything. I'm still going.
Yeah, we don't need that little piggy taking the market, right? We'll take that.
That's right.
Aren't the comms great for that situation though? Because I found myself kind of saying the same thing when me and the boys went down and did Drew Faulkner's Red River Scramble. You know, usually they put me out towards the front, but somehow I ended up like 4 or 5 guys in the pack, and I'm going along. That's what you hear is like, and I'm like, something not good is coming up. So let me get prepared in the right frame of mind here. So I do appreciate the comms for that.
Well, you know, I love the comms, and I have a funny story about the Red River Scramble. We were at the Red River Scramble a couple of years ago, and there's a group of guys that come out of Ohio that ride it every year. Matt Kelly and all his guys. And so I went down and rode with those guys, and all of them are like, we don't like comms. We don't like being connected. I don't want to talk to them. I don't like talking to them when we're sitting there, let alone when we're riding. Well, you know what? We made them all put their comms on. And halfway through the day, they were like, this is the most fun we've ever had.
Yeah.
Because you're talking shit the whole time.
Yes. Yes. Dude, that is such a refreshing thing to hear from you, because it was the same thing for our group. There was 4 or 5 of our guys were like, I don't want to hear you guys talk. You talk enough at camp when we're drinking beers. Like, I don't want to do that. And then we slowly got them to do it. And it just, any little thing like that can increase your riding experience is awesome in our book. And it's just, you're just talking shit to each other the whole time, or, you know, making dinner plans or just inside jokes that we have. It's just, it makes it so much more enjoyable.
Oh, 100%. It was funny because we got to the end of the day one day, and Matt Kelly, who's a super rider. I mean, he's a pro level rider, and it's too bad he's going through some medical issues now. But that year we're riding, and he got hung up in some stuff. So I went around him, and then we started, all of a sudden it started to become a little bit of a race, with all of us, and we're all kind of dicing it back and forth, and then we came into this one spot and I got stuck like in these trees, and so did the next couple guys. Well, my buddy Ryan, who doesn't like getting anything dirty, freaking just flew over a mud hole. I mean, he is wide open, just whoo, and passes us. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So I start chasing him, right? And all I do is I'm in his comms. I'm like, Ryan, you're riding over your head. You're gonna get hurt. Better watch it. Yeah. And he goes, that's all I could hear in there. He said, I come over a hill, and he goes, and I lost all control. He says, I don't know how I made it to the bottom of the whole hill. He says, but that's when I slowed it down. But he was doing really good. It was just funny, but like you were saying earlier, I think we were talking about this offline, mine, rallies a mind thing too.
Yeah.
Longevity, you talk about that, it's not about, being the fastest, it's being the most accurate and the fastest. Yeah. And so, you got to play those mind games and stuff.
Yeah. And for people that have never done it, like, it is so mentally taxing to, be so hyper fixated on navigation and riding at the same time. Like, I don't think most people that dual sport adventure ride, obviously if they've never done a rally, have never done it, but that was like a really eye-opening thing for me starting these 24-hour rallies. Was like, oh yeah, I've dual sport rode and followed a GPX file, but that's a little different than doing it at a consistent pace, a consistent speed, and trying to be accurate with it. Like, it is mentally draining to just keep that up all the time. Like, the adrenaline's constantly running, and yeah, it's something else. And like we said off camera, like, it's such a mental game. And, people have asked me what it takes to finish the 24-hour rallies and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, bike prep's important and this and that, but it's the mentality. You have to have that mental fortitude to put up with the BS and the intrusive thoughts of, I ain't going to finish this. It's raining. It's terrible. I don't like this. Like, breaking through that mental barrier is such a key part of finishing those.
Oh yeah. No, I have a rule, and I have it when we hair scramble race too. Like, I'll do a lot of team stuff, like 8-hour race with my son or something like that. Yeah. And I always say, you have one job, finish this lap, and then you can finish the next lap. Okay. That's all you got to do. I don't care how long it takes you, just finish it. Because my goal is every day to get to the hotel, get to my campsite, whatever it is, to finish the day. And that's all I think about is, okay, all right, at the end of the day, I got to get here. So it doesn't matter how fast I do it, as long as I get there.
Yeah.
And because you can't win a race if you don't finish it.
Yeah, true.
So, but yeah, the mental fortitude, it's funny because, we talk about prepping, I hear people that, they just over analyze, over prep and everything else. And I'm not a huge prepper. Granted, I've got, all my comms and 4 different battery packs right here that I've just charged for our trip to Mexico.
Yeah.
But really, I don't do a lot of pre-ride prep. I get out there and I just ride, because if I did all that other stuff, I would worry myself sick.
Yeah.
You can't. You got to get out there and just do it. And you know what? Sometimes when you're just riding with buddies and everything, when things break down and stuff like that, the way you handle that is how you're going to handle it in a race.
Yeah. That's
you got to be able to handle it the same way in both, so that you're not completely stressed out, because that's when people give up.
Yeah, like exactly. Exactly. No, we went through that at the Red River Scramble. Our buddy Chad hit this like pothole size mud hole that didn't look that deep, and it was a freaking sinkhole to China, and flipped over the handlebars and punched a hole in the ignition cover on his KTM 500. and it's puking oil out everywhere. And here we are, like, one guy's got a half dried up thing of JB Weld. There's no beer cans laying around. We don't have any extra oil. And it just turned into this whole cavalcade of failures of, one guy's going to go get oil, but he gets a flat tire. We don't know where he is. It's all these moving parts and pieces, but we kind of pulled through, got through it, and got back together. And then, obviously that makes the best stories back at the campfire when you can overcome those struggles. But yeah, it's such a mental game.
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you, it's a good thing to do when and I say this for people that are better riders, do sweep a lot of times.
Yeah.
Because like last year I swept a Soggy Bottom up in Pennsylvania, which is just an amazing event.
Yep.
Kissel, Josh up there, he does an amazing event with that. But anyway, we swept that in day one. We got to lunch at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
And we only swept the morning.
Yeah.
But what we learned was I am not allowing anybody to use lithium batteries anymore because when they die, they shut themselves off and you can't use a jump box. And everybody's like, oh, no, I got a jump box that, if you press this button, it overcharges it and it resets it. No, it doesn't. The guy that I had with me had all that fancy stuff. I don't carry that fancy stuff.
Yeah.
And it, we found that we actually had to take a battery out of another bike and literally jump it to get it going and let it, and you couldn't disconnect it right away because if you did disconnect it right away, it didn't have enough power and it would shut off again.
Yeah.
So you had to keep it together. So what we did was after about 5 bikes that we had to do that to, we said, we are making jumper cables. So now we just carry jumper cables, not jump boxes.
Yeah.
And then the next day it just pissed the rain. I mean, it was pouring. It was probably the heaviest downpour I've ever ridden in my life. And I mean, you remember, Jeff Nash, you guys had him on. He had a brand new 500 KTM and he went to go through a mud hole. And I actually I had a passenger on the back because their bike had broke down. And I said, just get on the back. We're going to get you to lunch. It's only 3 miles away. I'm riding you to lunch. And so anyway, I ride through this. I ride around this big mud hole and Jeff goes to go through it. And I turn around and all I can see is his handlebars. I don't even see him. I'm like, what the hell happened to Jeff? And he comes out of the water, like emerges out of the water. He hit that mud hole and it stopped him dead. He fell off the bike, but because it was brand new, he didn't want it to fall over. So he held it up with his feet while he went underwater. It was so hilarious. He came out, and I could imagine how bad he smelled all day.
Oh, yeah.
Those mud holes. Yeah.
Oh, anyone around here in this area, it's if it's stagnant and still, it just smells the greatest.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, so it was, the 2 things I learned was how to really get a bike unflooded quickly and don't use lithium batteries. So every bike I know that, I have, even my son's bikes, he's got 2 brand new bikes and I put AGMs in them and he's like, what are you doing? And I said, we ain't having these problems. We ain't having these problems.
Yeah.
You know what? That we're not good enough that a lithium as opposed to an AGM is going to make a difference for us.
Yeah.
So, that was that. But matter of fact, I'm staring at a brand new anti-gravity that I had for 3 months that doesn't work. And I don't know why. And I'm just like, and the other thing I found out with lithium batteries is there's a charge max on them.
Yeah.
And when I say that, that's in their warranty. So if a battery charges, and I forgot the exact number, it's like 13 point something volts. Well, every vehicle charges a battery at 14.2 roughly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So you automatically had voided the warranty on your lithium battery as soon as you stick it in your bike. Yeah. So I'm a little disappointed. Again, another reason why I have an AGM.
That's great advice. I like it.
But anyway, just little things.
Yeah.
Little things.
That's what it's all about, man. This has been great.
Yeah.
I think that's going to lead us into our segment that we love to do for every interview guest, and that is the six pack. All right, Todd, six pack is a rapid fire session of questions. So let's get right into it. What is your dream bike?
Right now, I think it's that Honda Rally, the CRF.
CRF replica, right? Yeah.
Yep, that Skylar and
Yep.
Team Monster Energy has.
Yep.
I love that bike right now. I would say that's probably my dream bike right now.
I would take that in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Best trail snack. What do you like to eat when you're out there?
Jerky's the easiest, but my favorite is smoked salmon.
Wow. Okay. That's a first on the show. I
Yep.
like that.
So I have a buddy of mine that's a commercial fisherman, and he used to, now you can't do that. But they used to, when a salmon would hit the deck, he would have it smoking in 20 minutes. And
Okay. I like that.
we
Traeger out there on the deck of the ship, right?
Yep. So we one time we were on a trail ride with him. Actually, we're doing Iron Mountain, and he was on a Triumph. I was on my 1200 GS, and my son was on his GS. And we got halfway through it. It had rained 2 inches the night before, so it was just a sloppy mess. Yeah. We were halfway through it, wore out, and he pulled that stuff out, and it's like, that is the best thing I've ever had. I don't know if it's a situation, but every time I've had it since, he always makes it just perfect. So yeah, smoked salmon.
That is I will always remember that. That's a first on this show. I love it. What is your favorite trail tunes? You listen to any music or anything where you're out there?
Yep. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm just riding for casual, it's going to be country or like old Bob Seger type stuff.
Okay.
If I'm running for time, it's Papa Roach, it's hard stuff, stuff like that. But all right, I gotta say it, Katy Perry's not too bad either.
Oh, okay, yeah. We got the blue collar white woman music that everybody's like. I've got some of that on my Spotify playlist too, I'm sure.
Yep.
All right, favorite terrain to ride in?
I love sand. I grew up in sand. Michigan's just a ton of sand.
Yeah.
Especially love it
around the lakes, right? Up that in the UP in that area. It's all, yeah.
Well, actually, even the lower peninsula, the whole west side of Michigan, that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
I just love sand. That's my favorite.
I like it. And not last, but next one. What's your must-have trail tool you keep with you?
Actually, so I never carry trail tools. I never carry anything. But last year, was it Enduro or Ingeduro? Ingeduro. They made me one of those little tools. I love that freaking tool. It's got everything on it, and that's the only tool I carry now.
Yeah,
I have that and spoons.
Yep.
Yeah. Even though I only run moose.
Okay. Front and rear, only moose.
Yep. And the spoon I've used for popping chains, everything. But really, that's it.
I've got an old moose spoon. And I think that thing gets more action of just taking the master clip off of a chain than it does anything else in my garage.
Exactly.
It's good for that.
Yep.
All right. Last, certainly not least, if you could only do 2 mods to a motorcycle, what would they be?
Suspension.
Just suspension.
Yep.
Okay.
There's and you know what? That's not all the time. I mean, I will run a clapped out bike and not care. Think it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Really, my favorite thing is nothing. Gas. Put gas in the damn thing.
Riding it as the mod, right? Put miles on it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, because that's so many people farkle and put so much money into vehicles. Every bike I have is the way I purchased it. So luckily my 500 was had a an ECU and exhaust done on it and stuff like that. And had the Mako 360s. Those are freaking awesome.
Yeah, they are.
it's an inexpensive mod, but man, I love them. My 300, I did nothing to. Literally, I ran it for 350 hours, and I rebuilt it once. Put bearings, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Normal
other
wear.
than that, nothing. I'm just thinking of recent bikes, 500. I mean, I'd get, other than the flame outs, maybe an ECU on those, just, reprogram it. But other than that, I'm a big guy, so the suspension needs to be done. I think that's the only thing I think, average people, if you just do the suspension, you've done more than you need to do.
Yeah. That's good to hear. I like that.
And I don't care, it was a joke, and I think I told you this when we were off camera. People ask me about tire pressure. People ask me about what tires I run, all this stuff. And Blair at the farm said to me this weekend, he said, I heard you one time say to one of your students, they're black and they're round. All I know about what tires on my bike right now. And
that's another thing, kind of like you're talking earlier, like paralysis by analysis, right? You get on these forums, like Trevor's huge on this point, you just take all this information in, and what this guy says is the gospel, you go with, and then you try it and you hate it. So like, we're definitely of that mindset of just get out there and try what works for you. Don't pay attention to what this guy's saying here, or this, influencer on YouTube saying here he's selling product basically. So that's a big key for us as well.
Oh yeah. And another thing that I said when we were talking about that was, listen to people that ride. Yeah. And when I say people that ride, not your Joe Blows that you ride with every day, the real riders. And they're going to tell you what you actually need. I sit there, I can go into a dealership and say, oh, I have this on my bike. I have this on my bike, blah, 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 for the events. But to be honest with you, I just want guys to ride, get a little bit of training under your belt, just so get rid of some of the bad habits. That's it. Don't sit there and train yourself to death. I get really angry with my friends that, go and do training after training after training. Even though I do training, don't do the training. Go ride, go camp. I train people for the GS trophy. And the first thing I tell everybody that does that, your first thing is you need to go camp and ride off that bike. You need to be riding because you enjoy riding, or you're having fun out adventuring. Make your world bigger. That's what I want. I could care less about you training to do better at an event or whatever. I want you to just make your world bigger. And once you do that, all the rest comes. You become a better rider the more you ride, and the more you do different things, and the more things you throw at yourself.
I love that, man. That's awesome to hear. And it's so true, right?
Yep.
You got these guys get these blinders on, and I'm going to do this, and if you just explore your own world sometimes, and you open yourself up to see what's around you and explore, a motorcycle is the best way to experience anything. I think, I forget what celebrity was doing an interview and was talking about this, but it's like, motorcycling is that last form of travel where you're in one with nature. You're feeling the temperature change. You're seeing the colors, the sunrise, all that stuff. Like, it's a full body experience.
Yep. You smell everything.
Yeah.
When you drive by the guy that's smoking a cigarette in his car, or when you come up on that old Chevy pickup truck or old Ford pickup truck and you smell that gas,
or the pig farm across the street, right?
Yeah. Or the pig farm across the street. But yeah, you smell everything. Or that, my favorite smell, the dry leaves of fall.
Yeah.
When you're riding through the dry leaves of fall, that's very distinctive smell.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
So
I love it. All right, buddy, we're going to get through some of these points here. Now, some of the stuff we've touched on a little bit, but it's just some stuff I'd like to reinforce just a little bit here. You hear the term rally, and a lot of times it seems like that's all over the spectrum. And it's to us, a lot of times it's like the term dual sport. It can mean so many things to so many different people. So in your mind, what is the definition of rally?
So if you asked me that 3 years ago, I would say it's an event. It's a gathering.
Yeah.
when I say rally now, I mean a roadbook rally. So, but really, I think most people look at it as it's an event, it's a gathering.
I like that.
So,
We also touched on this a little bit earlier. You were kind of alluding to, the barrier of entry. So I think a lot of times people think of that term rally, or they see a rally type event and they're thinking, oh, it's Baja 1000. Like, I need a support crew. I need a chase helicopter. I need 18 mechanics. I need all this stuff. There's no way that I could ever do that. And I think that's one thing that I really appreciate about what you bring to the table here, especially in our area, is that barrier of entry is so low, and the everyday guy that rides dual sport and adventure bikes can come and do a roadbook rally event with you. Do you kind of see that sometimes, that people kind of get that in their mindset, that there's this huge barrier to rally?
oh yeah. And the adventure crowd, it's easier because they have a lot more disposable income than the dual sport guys.
Typically, yes.
The dual sport guys are running more on a shoestring. So it is harder for them to do the events. And yes, the events are not cheap. I'll be the first one to say it. I think ours is like $500 for camping, $550 for camping, but it's all your meals, your camping, stuff like that. But the entry, get yourself a tablet, use your phone. As long as it's an Android, you're fine. That's the lowest way we can get you to enter. It's cheaper than the $3,000 that you're going to pay at the Baja Rally or Sonora Rally or something like that, which are great events. Don't get me wrong. And you don't need full support groups for those. But it's nice to have it. But at our events, there's so many people. Like at the Virginia event, we have a workshop, a bike shop. I mean, I remember we were helping people with mooses that burned up, and either stuffing more moose in there, doing tire changes. Hell, we did a freaking clutch one day at the place while when people came back. So with the amount of support that you get, and people are going to help you on the trail. You don't need all the support. You just come and do events. Come have fun.
That's good to hear. And that was, one of my points too was, rally gear. We've kind of talked about that a little bit with the cheaper tablets. You don't have to have the, $4,000 rally raid, complete tower. Yeah. Like one of my KTM 500 that I had, I think it was Amazon. It was like nice CNC, had like a roadbook holder mount. And I think it was like $35. I had the phone mounted on that. Like, it was good enough for the 24s. So
quad lock.
Yeah. Shout out Quad Lock, not sponsored. I got one here too.
That's actually my phone with a quad lock. Is how I check just about every route.
Yeah.
That's so
that bling bling stuff is nice, but it's not necessary, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I do have a hell of a setup though. I do have a really nice
sure. Yeah.
Really good, but you can do it on that. Yeah. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like it. One thing that I did kind of add here is roadbook look. So what I have is a screenshot picture, and it's just a sample roadbook, just like one page of it here. And I'm going to pull this up, and I want you to take me and our viewers who are probably, not very high up on the experience level of this, of what this is telling us. Okay.
Yep.
Let's pull this up here, and I'll move this around so we can.
Oh, I love this. This is perfect.
Here we go. Now we're good. So take us through step by step of what's happening here in this roadbook.
All right. So if you look at this, each one of those lines is a note. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got note 1, and you see that on the lower left-hand corner of it, it's labeled. It's note 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yep. So there you go. On the left-hand side, you have your odometer. That's your odometer reading. That's what you should be reading on your odometer when you get to the point that looks like what you're seeing in the tulip. The tulip is the description or the notes.
Okay.
Okay. So on the left-hand side, that's your odometer. And then you'll see a little box with another odometer reading.
Yeah.
That's the distance from the previous note to that note. So you see the first one says
to 780. Yeah, I see
yep,
that.
780. So it's from 0 kilometers to 7.8 kilometers.
Yeah.
And then from, you see it's 91 kilometers.
Yeah.
And so that's going from 780 to 28.73.
Right.
And what you'll see sometimes is those will be colored. Those whole notes will be colored. And the way I was trained, if the note there was colored in green, that meant go, because to me, greens go.
Yeah.
And if it was colored in yellow, because you did it yourself, you had to hand do it. That would say, hey, it's quick changes. So in other words, they're not 70 kilometers, or it's not 7 kilometers or whatever. It's like a half a kilometer or less, or a quarter of a kilometer or less. So that you're aware that you need to be paying attention to the next note immediately.
Okay.
Now you get into the tulip, and let's grab tulip number 1. That's perfect. You're starting out, and you see there's solid lines, and then there's an open line.
Yeah.
The solid lines are dirt or gravel roads.
Okay.
The open line is a paved road. Okay. And then of course trees and telephone poles. Okay.
Yeah, some descriptive stuff there. Yeah.
Yep. And so then you go down, and you see that little like line that comes off the corner, and you see that in each one of them. That's called a distance tick.
Okay.
And what that means is that's where that odometer. So when you hit that point, that's when the odometer should match up with it.
Okay. I got you.
Okay. So, and so what you'll find is everybody does it differently. It depends on who's doing the road book.
Yeah.
Some people put it in, the distance tick in there. I do not have distance ticks in mine. What I do is I say, when you get to the middle of your note in your tulip, or your description of your tulip, that's where my
tick, basically, right?
That's my tick.
Okay.
So I don't like having ticks in there.
Yeah.
Some people, like Scotty at Baja, what he'll do is he says, when you're exiting the tulip, or you're exiting the note, that's when your odometer should be reading.
Okay.
So that's different things. Now we'll go down to note 2. You see the 2 question marks. That's a danger. Basically, to the right there, it says there's a hole or a ditch that you're going to run across.
Okay.
And you see a DZ. So that's actually a speed zone, but below it says the danger on the right hand side.
Yeah, highway.
Yep. So obviously, when you're going, so if you look at this, you go from pavement across a 4-lane road. See how wide that one is? It's got the 3 lines.
Yep.
Wide highway or something. And then it goes to dirt. Well, obviously, once you go through over the highway, there's a ditch there, and that's what it's telling you.
Okay.
But then over to the right, there's a DZ. I don't put my DZs there. That's the beginning of a speed zone.
Okay.
I put them over in my odometer.
Okay.
It's just the way I do it. So everybody does it a little bit different. And then next to that's the speed. So it's 25.
Okay. Okay.
All right. And then if you look in the next note 3, you see FZ. So that's free zone. So you're free of the speed zone. That's where it ends.
Okay.
And when you see these zones, or you see the V with the circle, that's another waypoint. What those do is any of those, like the start at the first one, the DZ, the FZ, the V, and then the little checkpoint down there in the lower, note number 5, all those, what they do is they have 2 different circles that are built by the person laying the route out. So there's a usually about, if you're in the desert, it's usually about a 8 or 1,000 meter circle, radius circle, not diameter. And then that's the one that opens it up. And what will happen when that opens up, it tells you, and there usually will be an arrow that'll pop up on your reader and tell you where your waypoint is. So it's telling you which way to go and everything.
I got you.
And then once you get within, depends on how big they make the smaller circle, that's what clears the zone, clears
Okay.
the waypoint for you. And that is usually much smaller. I use 20 meters. So I use very small ones because that's the only way we can make it more competitive here, because you're really running trails. You're running really well marked stuff. It's not like you're running in the middle of a desert.
Yeah. Not very much to go off of, right?
Yeah. So I make mine a little tighter. So that shows you that stuff. And then in note 3, again, you see a swamp, you see the arrow going down a step, means there's a step, it's rough. The wavy stuff on the right, that's ruts. And then it says stay on cap. Okay. So in that one, you notice there's actually a compass heading. There's a degree. And that's the cap heading that you have to stay on. And the reason they tell you to do that is so you're staying out of the ruts and you're not going in the swamp, but you're also heading in the direction you need to head.
You're going between the two dangers, but still on the right track.
Yep, exactly. Okay. That's the way I'm reading it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you head at that cap heading. I usually don't use a stay on. I use average. So you average your cap at a certain amount. Like when I send you through fields and stuff like that, because that's what I'll do. I'll send people through fields and then, have them hitting those points. So that's that. Then the next one, basically stay straight, looks like a police officer. And then it's a validation waypoint. Okay. So that's pretty much all of them there. You have another danger. The one thing that doesn't show up in here is if you have the 3 exclamation marks, that's usually becomes a safety waypoint. So that basically you want to put that in a certain spot so people have to go through that, and it keeps them out of the danger. So like I have one place where I put a safety waypoint because there's a big hole on the right-hand side of the route, or left-hand side, depending on which direction you're coming in. And Chris Alls actually praised me for that, because he said he came ripping up on this, and he said his shit just started blowing up and beeping at him, and he was like, what the hell? And he said he slowed down. He said if I'd hit that at speed, he said I would have been dead.
Yeah.
Because it was between the ditch, and it was more for the ditch, the washout, than it was the dip in the road. But the dip in the road will take you out, because it was just a rocky dip.
Yeah.
So there's different things, but cap headings, it doesn't lay into cap headings that much here, because you just can't use them too often here. But that's pretty much it. I use an M waypoint, which is just a masked waypoint, where it just doesn't open up until you get to a certain point, and then shows you your arrow and stuff like that. That's about the difference. But other than that, that's I'm sorry, I didn't touch on this. On 3 and on 4, you see how it's dotted? That's a trail.
Okay.
Or off-piste is what it is. Off-piste, which means you're off the road.
Okay. Cool.
So, yep. I think that's about it.
Man, that is fantastic. And, I kind of get a general idea of it, but I'm sure if I had some training more with you, or just coming to the event and doing it, I could kind of start to slowly get that. But man, it's fascinating to me to see that, because a lot of people would look at that and say, that's Greek. I have no clue.
It's actually French.
Okay.
it's all in French.
Okay.
So we I think it's nice to know. It's nice to have watched a lot of Bugs Bunny cartoons when you were younger, because that's a lot of French. If you guys
Cherie was the skunk that was always after the cat or whatever.
Yep, Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe Le Pew. That's it. Love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, man.
Yeah, no problem.
We've also kind of touched on this a little bit, and even just a few minutes ago, but the East versus the West. So I think a lot of times you would think that rally is only a West Coast thing. Like you're in the desert, you're in Baja. There's so much, BLM land and area to do a rally that East Coast, we're into too many trees, too many houses. But, obviously with what you do, with what Jed does, I think you guys are kind of flipping that narrative that the East Coast is just as good for rally as what the West Coast can be. Do you agree with that?
It's just different riding is all it is. It's just like, you have hare scrambles out there, you have horse and hound, desert racing. The difference is speed, and traction. You don't have traction here, they have traction there. You can see forever there, you can't see forever here. I'm a little biased to the East Coast. I think we ride different. We're not as fast, but we're much more technical. But that's kind of my East Coast, West Coast. But the one thing we have that's to our advantage is, and this sounds bad to say, but we have economically depressed areas.
That's going to be my next point.
Yep. So that's why we can have rallies here. Because I don't want to say it helps, but it really does. It brings a lot of money to the community, for one, but at the same time, because they need the money so bad, they overlook, some of the things that they don't overlook out west. Out west, they have to run BLM land. We can run private land here. There's a lot of private land that we can run, which is odd. The reason why there are no rallies inside the U.S. This will probably be the first real rally raid inside the U.S. right now, that I know of. I know there's some ones that are kind of not allowed. Oh, you know what? They did do one. What was the one? The Baja Rally. They did that one. Okay. Mike did that one. He did a great job with that, but he ran into so many difficulties with sound of the bikes and all the safety issues and all this stuff. And we luck out here because they need to bring money to support to support these communities, and that works to our benefit. And we did have to, we have to throw in these speed zones and stuff like that. That's what people don't like, but we have to do it to keep it safe and keep it so we can keep doing it. But I mean, that's to our advantage. And, I want to make this bluegrass rally to be like the Hellas Rally. If you've ever seen the Hellas Rally,
yes. Yeah.
It's probably the best. That's the closest train I can actually compare it to.
Yeah. That's great. Kind of speaking along those lines of an economic impact, you feel like maybe there's, in a way, maybe not apples to apples, but there is sort of some comparisons between Appalachia and Baja. You got some kind of lower class areas. People are looking for work, or they're, just economically so depressed. And I feel at least there's a little bit of a parallel there of bringing a rally into this area as what you would have like when the Baja Rally and all these other ones come into those areas where, that tourism money, those teams coming in, all of that is their biggest 100%. Dollar maker of the year. You agree with that?
100%. 100%. Yeah, that's, I never really thought of it that way, but that's exactly what we're doing. When we're there, they want to bring money to their local communities in Baja. When we're here, the main thing I do is I have mandatory gas stops. That's the difference between mine and some of the other rallies in their certain amount of time. And I tell those places, hey, we're going to be stopping here. There's going to be so many bikes that are going to come through here. They're going to be coming through from this time to this time. They're mandatory. They have to be here for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So they're going to be eating food. They're going to be getting gas. And, and then I have a 10-minute gas stop. So one gas station gets the 10-minute one time. Next time they get the 30-minute, and then that's that zone. And then in another zone, I do the same thing. So I try to hit 4 stores that get gas and some food. So, and then the local communities, I love the idea of using the volunteer fire department, so that they get income by, doing food.
Yeah.
And then, the cheerleaders were super cool at the last one.
Yeah. They weren't quite there whenever I took off first. I was kind of bummed out because I started seeing some of the highlight videos. I was like, where was the cheerleaders when I took off? They weren't there. But I did laugh because when I rode away, I popped a little wheelie and I seen the little golf cart coming down with all of them on there. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess Chris Alls and Perry Hoover will get the cheerleaders today, not me.
But so, yeah. So, we say, so that's the little bit, but also you got to look at the amount of people that come into the community and how much they're spending there. They're buying gas, they're buying food, they're staying at Airbnbs, they're booking up hotels. And these aren't big hotels. These are mom and pops that are, doing whatever. So, and same with the Airbnbs. It's not like they're huge, they're getting a lot of traffic in
Yeah.
those areas.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people. Like, I went to almost all the 24-hour rallies. Me and the wife are booking an Airbnb. I'm using all these gas stations that we have around. We're eating at these mom and pop places. Like, and I don't want to butcher it, but I believe that Jed with Backroads kind of put out a little thing talking about what that economic impact was. And it was like in excess of like $4 million for some of these places in just a weekend. Like,
Right.
and it, in a way, I do like to see that opening the eyes of these legislators and the people that run these communities, these counties, these states, because I feel like for so long, just motorsports were no, we're not doing this. But when they start seeing that economic impact, oh, we're going to make a lot of money at this. Okay, yeah, come into this, wildlife management area that we have shut down all the time. Yeah, come in through here. So,
Yeah, I have a really good sticker that Steve Smith. I don't know if you know him from some of the 24 hours. He's done a couple of the 24 hours. I know.
okay, yep. I know you're talking
Yep.
about.
So he came to one of my classes a couple years ago because he was going to race the Sandblast Rally, and so he came to my same class, and he gave me a sticker after, and it said, and it's it's a National Forest sticker, and it says, "Management does not equal closure."
Yeah. We have said that on this show, my friend. We have said that closure is not management.
Yeah.
It's a sad thing. And it's hopefully it gets a little bit better, but is what it is, I guess. I'm just thankful that we have people like you, people like Backroads, and all these other awesome entities and organizations allowing us to, do these type of rallies, whether it be roadbook, what have you, to get out, explore those areas and bring some economy to these depressed areas.
Yeah. It's great. And I love talking to the communities when we go in, because, I love talking to these ladies that run these different stores, because no, I'm dead serious. It's funny because I came in the other day, I drove in a car and I stopped at one just to grab something, because I always want to stop there. And I actually grabbed a hanging basket, with flowers in it.
Yeah.
That she had out there, and she goes, "Wait, aren't you the motorcycle guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." She goes, "We really love seeing those guys." And so that makes me feel a lot better that we actually, they are seeing some impact from it.
Yeah. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about.
So,
just a couple more things here. You did mention the Bluegrass Rally Raid that's coming up here. And what's the date on that? So
that's June 3rd through the 6th, I believe.
Okay. And that's based out of, is that the
that's going to be out of the, yep, that's going to be out of that same property that we did the last, was it the Triangle Overland?
Yeah, Appalachian Overland Triangle. Yeah.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Great facility. It looked like they're getting their bridge in.
Yeah. You have a bridge to pee off of now, Todd.
I wasn't quite there when I had to pee. I'll tell you what, I think I'm gonna take Chris All's advice, and my next couple races, I think I hydrate before the race. Yeah. He actually dehydrates before the race.
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't do that. He says, it's so I don't pee so much during the
race. Dude, it's a thing. Like I kind of do the same thing. Like I don't really drink a whole lot like before, so I don't have to pee. And then it's like, we'll eat a huge meal like the night before, so my stomach's so full, like I'm not going to eat the rest of the day. So I'm not sitting there at the gas station munching down. Like it's weird to kind of switch your brain around that a little bit, but it works. It definitely works.
Right. So June 3rd through the 5th, 6th or 7th. I know it's 4 days of racing.
Okay.
And I know it's a Wednesday is the start day for it. And but we're going to have the, so it is. So prologue will be Wednesday, racing on riding on Thursday.
Friday. Yeah. You got to get, yeah. That's a touchy subject, right?
Yep. And Saturday, and then Saturday night we'll have the awards, but it's breakfast, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and dinner, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Awesome. So all included in it. So,
and just for everybody out there watching or listening, what's the website again? And Is the registration open for that yet?
Yep. Registration opened January 1st. Zacker Adventures. So ZackerAdventures.com. You could even do ZackerADV.com. I own that too, and it kicks you to that too.
Cool.
But yeah, it's ZackerAdventures.com. It's got all of our things on the featured events right on the front page. Pick the one you want some information on, go into it. If you have questions, hit me up either on Facebook. You can hit me up on Instagram, Zacker Adventures, either of those. And then ZackerAdventures@gmail. That's my email. So got any questions? I'm answering stuff all the time. Matter of fact, I've probably been answering about 5 questions while we've been talking.
Oh man, it pays to be popular, right? You're doing something right.
That's the misnomer. I do this. So that's one thing I will say. We don't do this for profit. We do this for just to raise money. Yeah. For the longest time, my son, he had a pediatric he was a pediatric brain tumor survivor. Wow. So he's had brain surgery twice, had to learn how to walk, talk multiple times. Didn't hold him back. He was a high level hockey player, ice hockey player. He was a special forces medic. He was a Ranger medic. So he's, nothing held him back. He's riding like a freaking beast right now. I can't stand riding with him right now because he's so much faster than I ever expected him to be this, so quickly. But
I don't want to interrupt you real quick, Todd, but just as a father of 2 twin-year-old boy or twin 5-year-old boys who were born at 23 weeks and suffered some pretty significant brain bleeds, that's encouraging to hear.
Oh yeah. And so what we did is we used to support every bit of profit we gave to them. That's why you saw the weird colored bike KTM.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
that's my Brep for Brains.
Okay, I get it now. I get it. Yeah.
Yep. And we just raised money for them. We're doing a little bit of a turn on that, and we're going to. My son had a great idea, bringing vets out, getting vets included in things. That's our goal now. Matter of fact, that was our brainchild this weekend. We're trying to figure out getting through the system. We're going to sponsor guys to come to our events, just to keep them out, because it's not cheap to do all the events and stuff like that. Not everybody can do them, and just getting the guys out and because sometimes it's just getting the motivation to go.
Yeah.
And, especially some of the combat vets and stuff like that, they struggle with that. And so, my son, he's found that in his heart to do. So we're going to figure something out there. Try and figure out ways we can get these guys on some BDR trips, camping trips, getting them into Hare Scramble series, finding somebody to sponsor them for a year just to pay their entries so that, these guys can get into it. Again, back to the cost of entry, trying to lower that cost of entry for some people that deserve it.
Yeah. That's amazing to hear. And that's what I love so much about this community, man. It's just such an awesome group of like-minded individuals that want to not only better their communities, give back, just be good people. That's so refreshing to hear.
Yeah. So when we say that, that's how we make our money, we don't, it's tough to make money in this business.
Yeah,
so
it is.
It's better to have a good job.
Yes.
And then use this money to just give back to the community, because that's really what it is.
Awesome. What they always say, if you want to become a millionaire as a motorcycle rider, you just got to start out as a billionaire. You'll become a millionaire real quickly. Right?
Yeah, I heard that about road racing.
Yeah. Similar. All right, let's go through some of the comments we got here this evening, and we're kind of winding down towards the end of the show. We appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. First up was our buddy, Mr. Jim Montaigne. He said, "Happy New Year, buddy. Happy New Year to you, sir." At TSM Moto ADV, born to race. He was talking about you there a little bit ago.
Oh yeah, Matt. So Matt is, I love Matt. Matt took my class. It was first time ever riding adventure bikes. He took my class. He won the award for the most Falls. And what I love about Matt is he ended up the following year or the next year racing Sandblast. Fell, broke his collarbone, still riding, still doing everything. But, for him to go not riding to racing in like a year or two, I think is super cool. I love awesome. Matt. I love his little videos too. He does I say little videos. He does good videos.
Okay. Well, check that out for sure.
Yep.
Next up, Dave Porter. Now, if you want a guy to send to do the BMW GS World Trophy Team, this is your dude. He's an absolute animal on his GS. Awesome. He says he thinks he spent more time riding his GS off-road than all his dirt bike experience combined. And he's 100% right. He is you got to meet this dude, man. He's something else.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Tim Roush says, hi, guys. Tim, I'm glad you got in, man. You finally got to watch the show.
Yep.
My favorite minion. He's my favorite minion.
Yeah, I remember that. I met Tim a couple years ago at Sandblast.
Yeah, Tim's the one that was riding his beta around Boonville in the minion costume.
Yep.
We got David Dantzler 8104 says, hope you're coming back to Sandblast this year.
Yep, he's asking. I am David. I am. David's a great dude. Ran Sandblast. He had a real hard get off a couple years ago that I came around to see him at, and it was a little disappointing for me because he's such a good dude and just a great rider. He actually didn't have enough money for a pickup truck, so he would take his bike apart and put it in the he took his passenger seat out, and he'd take his wheels and everything off and put the bike in there. It was super cool, like a Honda Civic or something like that.
Yeah, I love seeing those pictures like that on social media. It's like the dedication to just get there. Like, I remember there was a dude, it was going around the internet there a couple years back. We had like an old Chevy Lumina, and he put a bike shoe, like bolted it to the roof of the car, and then took the trunk lid out so the rear tire would set in the trunk lid, and just had the bike on top of the car. And he was going all over the country racing and riding. It's awesome. Love that. Greg Blakey says he definitely had a few times where he finished a run and was scared that he wasn't scared. Had to tell myself I need to stay alive if I wanted to keep having fun. Yeah, that's a fine line you get to sometimes.
Yes, sir.
Matt's back again. He said they're literally the best. Tim says, you guys prefer Senna or Cardo?
What do you like?
I have a Senna. That's the only thing I've ever used, so I'm not a good guy to ask that question to, but I have the Senna Spider RT1, and most of the guys on my crew do have that, and we've had nothing but good luck out of it. So
yeah. So I was sponsored by Senna for a while, and we had them, and now we only run Scardos. And we don't get any sponsors anymore. No. It was the mesh technology that switched us, but I know the Senna mesh technology is just as good.
Yeah, we've had good luck with ours so far.
Yep.
Your name here 0801 says, do it, lady.
Chit show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's Blair. Yeah. You know what? That's got to be Blair Harris. That's the guy who runs Penmerrill.
Okay.
Super cool, dude.
Well, I think he might have switched back to Facebook because right here he's talking about smoked salmon, my man.
Yep.
It says enduro.com, good stuff.
Yep, that's that tool.
We'll check that out.
Love that thing.
Awesome. Ben Fopp, what pressure should have set his mooses to?
So Ben, so you see that picture of Ben? That's him in it starts with an A. What country was that? I forgot. Anyway, he was the guy. He actually bought my 1090 and took my class the next day. I didn't even have a bike to teach the class because I had sold my bike. and Blair let me use his GS 1250. And anyway, Ben shows up the next morning for the class, and he looks at me and goes, I should have stalked you on Facebook first before I bought it. But he ended up, he after riding with him that day and training him that day, he's just he's an amazing rider, and he was well deserved to go to gosh, I forgot the name of the state, but yeah, he's just, or the country. But he did a great job representing the U.S. on GS Trophy.
Nice.
We've said that. Yeah.
I do remember that now. Tim Roush was replying back to Ben, said green. as far as the air pressure.
Right.
Brian Stone says, what GMSR walkie-talkies do you use?
Oh, so I have the Oxbow is what I'm running. But these are for the guys in between. We have another one that we use that you can only use in Mexico, because FAA does not allow you to use them because they're 10 watts.
Okay.
That's what our medic runs, and that's what the lead guy runs.
Yeah. Brian, from my experience, I actually carry with me during the rally, and the moto guys don't really use the radios a whole lot unless there's something really bad going on, is just a cheap Baofeng off Amazon, like the UV5R. I mean, that's what normally all of us in the rallies use here. Kentucky Rally Rider said it would take me a while on trial and error to get the hang of those directions, and I'm sure it does. The Rally Roadbook stuff. Jay Storm says vetmotorsports.org would be a good resource to tap info all the fellow vets through motorsport. There you go, Tom. Might be a good resource right there. Matt says can't wait for the VA rally and bluegrass. Block my calendar off for it. Nice,
awesome, buddy. And then Ben Fop, Albania.
Yeah, Albania. Yeah.
And then Mike Lillis is another one. He's the one who broke his toe this weekend.
Yeah, Albania.
Then,
awesome. Appreciate everybody commenting there. And that's going to lead us to our last and certainly not least segment of the show. You might get a kick out of this, Todd. A little had to lay her down.
Can you run into some clippings? Did Barb take the kids? Well, Hoss, maybe you had to lay her down. Brother.
This week's Had to Lay Her Down is brought to us by my good friend, Mr. Ryan Melton, a.k.a. MXG Ryan on Facebook. He's doing a little bit of motocross practice and hit a little rut clippings. Let's let this clip play. It's never good when the GoPro goes flying off, right?
You know what I missed in that is the sound we all hate to hear, but we laugh at every time we hear it. Yep.
We all have a distinct sound. And we was talking about the communication stuff earlier. I've heard that sound multiple times in my headset.
Oh yeah. There's a good video of a guy, Kit Burdick. He was running Sandblast a couple years ago, and he ate shit going into a turn, and the video is just him eating shit, and then you hear, and we all listen to it and we laugh at it, but we've all been there. You use that wind, and it's a fight to get that air back.
I got a good buddy of mine. I've seen the video, so it's going to be next episode's Had to Lay Her Down. Luke, he's a madman on a Gas 700, and I love him, but I don't know what happened. He hit this rut and just the bike stopped, and he's just endo, and they got a heck of a picture of it where he's like completely upside down, like just a perfect shot. But I seen the video, and there was a bunch of comments on there. And then the only thing I could think of was that old Crusty Demons of Dirt video where like Seth Inslow's eating it. And I comment on it. I said, "You're going to die. You're going to ragdoll.
Oh, yeah. Maybe Mike Lillis will send in he's got a video of a guy inverted on a T7.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, guys. Any of the Had to Lay Her Downs or crashes that you have personal, send that to me, because that's the ones I like the best. You know, we've kind of seen them all online, but the hidden gems that you may have, send to the podcast page. We'll definitely make sure they get played there. Todd, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on here with us this evening. Is there anybody you want to thank out there before we sign off for tonight?
Just all the guys that have been, supporting Zacker Adventures along the way, all the clients that have come, just the community. That's what I love about it. I love drinking the beer and sitting around the campfire telling stories at the end of the day. That's what I love about it. And all those people that come out and hang out with us and do that stuff. That's who I want to thank. Of course, Climb's always supported me. I'm always a big fan of them, and Jeff Nash. So I got to throw a thank you to him, and then my wife for putting up with all my bullshit, because that's really it. I got pictures of her down in Baja, and having to sit there in the back of the truck as my guys are driving through the roughest terrain there is. She said, I thought the cabinets were going to come off the ground, and then the federales pull us over, and they're like, "Oh, pretty chica."
Oh no.
She's like, yeah. So her putting up with all that and all the nonsense my buddies do and get the trouble they get me into.
Awesome.
I'll blame it on them.
Oh, man, love it. Well, buddy, again, I can't thank you enough for coming on. This has been fantastic and an awesome way for us to kick off 2026 here. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for us here tonight on Tallboys and Trackmasters.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Sorry I was so long-winded.
No, buddy, you're good. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.